Hi, everyone. We are so excited for the elite call today. I know many of you have been anticipating this moment. Little secrets have gone out, little whisperings have happened, but we are just thrilled to be here. And I have Justin Rose with me. He even dressed up for the occasion. We're excited to have him with us. And as you can see, we have quite the group of leaders as well on the call.
That's right. We're definitely very excited to have some of our Super 7, I guess, what do you call them? The story.
Yeah, the story committee.
That's helped us really fine-tune the story, which you're about to hear, and I know you're going to absolutely love it. So.
But first, we are actually going to go down to Studio A, and we're going to have our new, I guess it's not Chief Science Officer, yeah?
Our Senior Vice President of Research and Development, absolutely.
Dr. Brian Dixon, and then also our VP of Marketing, Jesse Allen. So let's head down to Studio A really quick.
Perfect. Are we good?
We're good.
Great. Thanks, Kelly. Thank you. Thanks for letting us join the call. This is a lot of fun for both of us. So some of you don't know me, and I totally understand that. My name is Jesse Allen. I am fairly new to the organization. I am serving as Vice President of Marketing and Communication, and honestly, it's a real pleasure to be with you guys today, and with Dr. Brian Dixon.
And if you don't know Jesse, then you definitely don't know me. I think I've only been here about 2 months. So.
Brian's introduction, if you guys weren't aware though, right? He shows up to work literally the week he shows up, and we immediately put him on stage, and he crushed it in Kansas City. So
yeah, thanks for that.
Great job with that. So this is a ton of fun for us. Like, both Brian and I have been in product and product development literally our entire careers. We love it. We're passionate about it, and the fact that we get to talk about a brand new product that's part of the Protandim line, like literally coming out of the gates with our Career at Life Vantage, is super exciting.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, super exciting, and there's a lot to talk about on this call. We're gonna give you the details, right? I mean, this is kind of the pulling back the curtain so you guys can see what we're doing and where we're headed, and give you guys really first looks at the product, right? And understanding what the product is to push that momentum coming into Long Beach here in a couple of weeks. So. And I think you guys know, I don't know if we've told you guys this yet or not, but the new product that we're introducing at Long Beach, you guys will either receive it today or tomorrow, either within the next couple of days at the latest. We actually bundled them all up. We sent the product to you. We wanted you to see it, to experience it. We put a really nice brochure in there that explains kind of what we're going to talk about right now. It explains all of that in the brochure, just so you guys can experience. There's one thing, and we'll talk about this a little bit. There's one thing that I love about this product, is the fact that the time to benefit, meaning the experience that you get when you take the product, that time to benefit is significantly reduced as it relates to normal nutritional products. And so that gets me excited, because there's this real sensorial aspect with the product. You feel it immediately. You have a great experience with it, and it's motivating, and it's powerful, because it means so much from like a sampling product and the ability to share it and get your customers and the rest of your organization excited about it. So hopefully you guys have that experience when you use or see the product, and use it later today, tomorrow, whenever it arrives, and understand how powerful it's going to be for you.
That's a big deal in the nutritional space, because usually we talk about months, right? Time to benefit before you feel something. So this is really exciting from that point of view as well.
Yeah, I mean, usually it's at least 30, 45 days before you really start to notice something. And in this case, I mean, we haven't even told you guys what the product is yet, but in this case, you're seeing it literally. Some people are seeing something within a day, or the day, the very first day that they take it, they notice something. And I'm not going to say it's this just earth-shattering experience, but it's a powerful experience, and you feel it immediately. And I may have or may not have taken it like an hour ago, which is part of the reason that I'm talking this fast, but it's a great product, you guys. So should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
Okay. So like we already told or mentioned, it's part of the Protandim line, and I think that's been introduced. I mean, you guys have heard quite a bit about it. It's floated around Super 7. That's a name that we used. There have been other names that I'm not going to mention that have been used regarding this product.
But wipe all those from your brains.
Yeah, literally remove those from your brains, because we want this product to be understood for what it is, what it's about, and what it actually does. Let's step back though. This is my favorite part, you guys, is that when I get to interact with Brian, I should really call you Dr. Dixon, but when I get to interact
Brian,
with
please.
He's totally informal that way. When I get to interact with him, I get this opportunity, frankly, to learn, and I love it. It's such a pleasure. It's an experience for me because I'm curious, and I guess you feed that curiosity. When we started talking about this product, you and I, you introduced me to a concept where you talked about various theories of aging. And anyways, just talk to us a little bit about that and what that really means and what we know and why we approach aging from different ways or what we know. What does that term mean?
Yeah, well, that's my background, is the aging process. And it turns out there are many, many different theories of aging that are out there. Well, why would there be so many different theories of aging? Well, it turns out that no one theory is the kingmaker, the one that's going to be responsible for all the things that we see changing as we get older. So there's so many theories of aging because there's so many things changing as we age.
Okay.
And so the approach is changed from, let's stop looking from that one magic thing, that one magic bullet, that one magic pathway, the one magic gene, the one magic nutrient, to maybe we need to take a layered approach to aging and affect more of these pathways to help our health long term.
Okay, so, and I'll be honest, right, you guys, this is more of an intimate conversation. We're probably not going to talk, this raw or this unfiltered with the rest of the field, but with you guys as the elites, I think we can. There was some hesitancy on my part to use that term aging because I don't want to pigeonhole the Protandim product line into something for old people, because I think when with aging, at least a lot of times that gets associated with old people, but the reality is aging starts young.
Incredibly young, and I think you might be surprised. So what would you think? What would you guess?
I would say from birth. As soon as you are born, you start to age.
Well, that's, my dad used to say that birth is terminal.
Birth is terminal.
So
Okay.
yeah, in a way you can say aging starts from the time you're born. But really from a physiological point of view and definitely on a biochemical molecular point of view, we can see things starting to change as early as our 20s. And I can give you some examples I'm sure you're familiar with very easily. So think about your heart rate. So if there's any exercisers out there, how do you calculate your theoretical maximum heart rate? It's 220 minus your age. So that means every year you're subtracting a beat off of your maximum heart rate, right?
Okay.
So your heart rate slows down starting in your early 20s. Also, your lung capacity decreases in your early 20s. And this is exactly why most professional athletes are in their young 20s. It's really a testament to the athlete if they make it to their 30s, and to talk about any professional athlete in almost literally any sport in their 40s is almost unheard of, right? We do know those exceptions. So aging starts when we're really, really young, and I think that's what's so interesting about the approach at Life Vantage. Let's intervene early so we're treating those root causes of these changes that we're seeing occurring with age to help us as soon as possible to set up our future to be as healthy as possible.
I love it. I love it. Okay, and that sets the stage to, if we're talking Protandim, in order to talk about the Protandim line and where we're headed as a line, we've got to step back and acknowledge the original product, right? The NRF2 and what we learned from there. So walk me through a little bit about NRF2, just the way you explain it and the way you would talk about both the pathway and the product itself and what we've learned from that product.
Yeah, NRF2 is actually a protein that lives in our cell. And really, you just think of this protein as being a sensor molecule. And its job is just to sense whether or not there are oxidants, free radicals, even toxins inside of the cell. So it's sensing, and it's just sitting there waiting for these things to start interacting with the protein. And when those things do interact with the protein, NRF2 is released. It ends up in the nucleus of our cell where our DNA and our genes live, and it literally starts flipping on switches for protective mechanisms inside of our cells. So the antioxidant defenses that we talk about, the detoxification response, NRF2 is the pivotal protein in that process.
Okay, and so the product, right? So we right through research and study, right? They understand that those 5 key ingredients, right, were or maybe I should use the word nutrients. Those nutrients in that specific combination is what allows that pathway and that cascade of that cell signaling pathway that you talked about. They are what trigger that action that then releases that positive response.
Yeah, and that's one reason why I'm so excited to be here. So doing my PhD research, I spent a lot of time looking at the role that NRF2 was playing in the aging process. But then what was also so exciting, and what our labs and a number of other laboratories found, is that there are specific nutrients that can also interact with the NRF2 protein, release it so that it can go into the nucleus, and it brings our cell to a heightened state of defense. And that's exactly how those 5 key ingredients are working in Protandim NRF2.
Okay, so that sets the stage for then, if that's what the Protandim NRF2 synergizer accomplished with those 5 nutrients. So we addressed a target that we needed to change, right? There was oxidative stress and there were free radicals, and we needed to address those free radicals by increasing the antioxidants, right? So free radicals was the target. We looked upstream at what nutrients or combinations of nutrients created that certain response that then released antioxidants or your body's own ability to produce and generate antioxidants.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I like to think of it as kind of a either top-down or bottom-up approach. So we can kind of look at what's the outcome or the benefit, and then we can look at maybe what's an input that might elicit that benefit. And then with me being a molecular biologist, I want to know everything that's happening in between. And so in almost every single case, what's happening in between are what's called cell signaling pathways, or cellular communication pathways. So we absolutely know that we can apply nutritional interventions to the cell, right? Put the input. We know through these cell signaling and communication pathways that we can ultimately elicit a response. And in this case, it's antioxidant and detoxification defenses.
So, okay, so what I love about that, and the way you just explained it, right? You said input, and what was this one down here?
Kind of the benefit or the physiology that we want to affect.
So if that becomes the framework then, which it is, right, for the Protandim line, that becomes our framework moving forward as we look at new products and introducing new products into this family, is we look down here and say, what is the benefit that we're trying to create? What is the input, right? And then what are the nutrients that we need to utilize with this input for that cell signaling pathway to elicit the benefit that we want?
Exactly right.
Okay.
And that's where this gets all really exciting when we start talking now about the Protandim family of products.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about it, because if you understand that framework, then talking about the Protandim line, talking about the family of products becomes very simple, because it's the same framework over and over again. All we're doing is we're targeting a specific benefit that we're trying to elicit.
Yeah, and because if we go back to those theories of aging, we now know we want to take this layered approach and start to elicit a lot of different benefits through a lot of different inputs to affect a lot of different cell signaling pathways to, again, set us up for health, especially later in life.
Perfect. Okay, so the first benefit was, let's address oxidative stress, right? So the second that then we looked at was really the mitochondrial health.
Mitochondrial theory of aging.
Okay,
Exactly.
help me, right? Help me. This is all about me. Help us understand the mitochondrial theory of aging.
Yeah, the mitochondrial theory of aging postulates that as we get older, the mitochondria don't work as efficiently. And they don't work efficiently for a number of different reasons. One, their turnover slows down, so the damage is accumulating in these mitochondria. They don't work as efficiently as they used to. So you can think of it as having to breathe more oxygen to make the same amount of energy. And maybe I should back up and maybe tell everybody what the mitochondria are in the first place. But if you're not familiar with what the mitochondria are, they are these tiny little what they call organelles, but you can almost think of them as little rooms living inside of the cell. So it's these little tiny organelles or room, and their only job is to produce energy so that we can live and breathe every single day. So you can also imagine how important it is when energy production shuts down. I mean, it's vital to our life, and not to get a sidetrack too far, but if you go and look at the most poisonous compounds on the face of this earth, they actually target the mitochondria and they stop energy production, and we pass away really, really quickly. And probably the most common would be cyanide. I think we've all heard of cyanide and how toxic it is. Well, it works by basically tearing the mitochondria apart so they can't work anymore. Okay? So this, coming back to the mitochondrial theory of aging, this postulates, again, like I said, that the mitochondria are not working as efficiently. They're building up damage as we get older and older and older, and then they become what's called leaky. Okay? The scientific word is called uncoupled. But what do I mean when I say leaky or uncoupled? They start to produce a whole bunch of oxidants and free radicals as they're making energy. So these things kind of escape the normal mechanisms that are in place to basically detoxify those oxidants and free radicals.
Wow. Okay. And then obviously Protandim NRF1 Synergizer addresses that issue.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we know, again, that if we can really help the cell help itself, and in this case help the mitochondria help itself, that we're going to set ourselves up for better health down the road. And so a lot of people don't recognize that we are also not only exposed to free radicals and oxidants and toxins, but our bodies also produce a tremendous amount. And it's been estimated that as we age, somewhere between 1% to 2% of all the oxygen that we breathe is ultimately turned into oxidants and free radicals. And so that was exactly the design of Protandim NRF1 Synergizer, was to target the mitochondria, help with their turnover so we can get the bad ones out, make more of them, but then also provide nutrients that are going to help support overall mitochondrial health and especially efficiency.
Perfect. So what we've got then within the Protandim line, we've addressed the
free radical
theory of aging. Then we're addressing the mitochondrial theory of aging.
That's right.
And now we have the opportunity to talk about another theory of aging, a third theory of aging, recognizing that there are multiple, but we're slowly chipping away that, and maybe you should correct me on this, but we're chipping away that those that are either most prevalent or those that are most understood or those that are going to have perhaps the largest impact on our overall health span?
I'd say the ones that have the largest impact,
Okay.
right, on our health span, and then the ones that are also the most studied as well.
Okay.
And they're usually the most studied because they're the most important.
Okay. Most studied because most important. That makes sense. So this is where we get to introduce the theory. So let's talk about this theory of aging, and then we can really start to dive into the product a little bit. So the theory, right, is this sirtuin, right? SIRTUIN.
That's right.
S. Theory of aging.
Theory of aging.
Right?
So we might have to ask them to put on their scientific caps here for a second. So we are going to be throwing some new words and some new concepts, but let's just reiterate. It's the same framework, right? Benefit or physiological response and input.
Okay. Utilizing nutrients
To
address that input.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Nutrigenomics.
Nutrigenomics. Somebody had to put the word in there, and it was a good thing it was the smart one. Okay. I really want to talk about what I want them to understand, because I found it so fascinating, was how the science community came to understand what sirtuins were or what they were doing or why they were maybe so important. And I don't want to oversimplify this, but I kind of do. Like, how did, maybe it wasn't the discovery, but I in my mind it was the discovery of sirtuins, or at least their benefits. So talk to me about this thing called caloric restriction and what we learned from the scientific studies around caloric restriction.
The sirtuin theory of aging came about because of these studies that were done on caloric restriction. What do I mean when I'm talking about caloric restriction? Well, there's this phenomenon in literally every organism on the face of this planet, whereby if you reduce calories, right, the energy input by 40 to 60%, you have significant health benefits that are afforded. And it can be something as gross, and I mean big, as supporting healthy longevity. When we start to look in mammals and humans, we start to see a lot of cardiovascular benefits, supporting those cholesterol levels that are in that normal healthy range already, mood, mental clarity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so by simply living in a following caloric restriction, there are significant health benefits associated with that. So if I was to reduce my caloric intake down to 800 calories, I'm going to see cardiovascular benefits. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
you're right. I should have.
No.
You said it much more better.
I think you said it. I'm just
more clearly.
repeating it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 40 to 60% reduction for us. Exactly to your point. We would have to eat about 800 calories per day. That's it. 800 calories per day. I mean, to put that in context, a Snickers bar is about 240 calories. So just a little piece of candy is about 240 calories.
Okay, so living on 3 Snicker bars a day.
Living on 3 Snicker bars a day.
Got it.
That's it. But you could also imagine, how you're going to feel when you're restricting your calories that much.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be
feel horrible.
hungry all the time. You're fatigued. People don't tend to move around as much when they're in this huge caloric deficit. And in fact, anyone who knows anything about caloric restriction, they always recommend that you do this under the very close supervision of a medical professional, because you also run the risk of becoming nutritionally deficient, and that has all sorts of consequences.
Well, I've got, you've got to believe that, or assume, I guess, that if you're only eating 800 calories a day, even if it's highly nutrient dense food, you're still not getting enough nutrients.
It's really tricky.
For basic physiological benefits. It's got to be complicated.
It's incredibly
challenging
complicated.
and miserable.
Yeah, and again, why they recommend that it's done under the supervision of a medical professional.
Okay, but they're okay, right? So it's difficult, it's challenging, it's kind of miserable. It's psychologically, I think it would be terribly frustrating. But on the other hand, or on the flip side, there's tremendous health benefits associated with it. Walk through the health benefits with me one more time. Just give me a list of a couple of them.
So we see things like cardiovascular health.
Yep.
We see things like supporting a healthy inflammatory response.
Okay.
We see improvements in mood. We see improvements in cognition. And there's
cholesterol.
And then we see a lot of like health benefits related to cholesterol, right? If they're already in that healthy range, and really the list goes on and on and on.
Okay. So calorie restriction, difficult, challenging, kind of a miserable existence, potential health impacts negatively from lack of nutrition, and you need doctor supervision. But on the flip side, positive. A health correlation, right?
Right.
A cascade of health benefits. Why? Like, what's happening that allows all that health benefit to occur when you're living in what would be perceived a weird approach to health?
Right. And you all are probably wondering then, well, why did we call this the sirtuin theory of aging?
Right.
Well, it's because when you restrict your calories, this is basically a massive stress on our bodies. And it's a stress because those calories are so reduced. And what ends up happening is the production of a molecule called NAD actually increases inside of the cell. Okay? So there's another new term, NAD. But why is that important? Well, because these proteins called sirtuins require NAD to function. Okay, how does NAD sirtuins now link to caloric restriction? Well, what's been shown is that when you manipulate these sirtuin proteins, and there's a relatively big family of these proteins, when you manipulate these proteins and somehow inhibit their ability to work, so whether you're using inhibitors, whether you're doing genetic manipulations and taking the protein out altogether, if you remove the sirtuin proteins out of this caloric restricted model or situation, you lose those health benefits.
Fascinating. So So sirtuin is what it's all about. So if we go back to our model, right, that benefit that we're looking for, I mean, the benefit that we're looking for is all the health benefits that you listed, right? Cardiovascular health, healthy anti-inflammatory responses, improved cholesterol levels, and on and on, mood, cognition, energy, on and on and on. True health span to improve my lifespan, that's the benefit, and it feels like then what we're looking for is sirtuin activation.
Yeah, and let's take it, maybe let's kind of layer it in that same framework. And we're kind of talking about this in this conversation a little bit differently. So we're talking about the benefits. Now we're working our way back up to the input. So we get to NAD, sirtuins, caloric restriction. The big question is there a way to affect this sirtuin activity without this massive caloric reduction?
And so what you're going to tell us now then is that's possible.
That is possible.
Okay.
And so that's where we dove deep into the science of the sirtuin molecular biology, and we really started to understand how are these guys and gals working, okay? Well, it comes back again to NAD. If NAD is not in the system or in the cell, sirtuin activity doesn't work. When you increase NAD levels, you get an improvement in sirtuin activity.
So with this then, and I don't want to I actually do want to oversimplify this. I want to make sure that this is totally clear. All of these health benefits that are associated with caloric restriction, we're able to generate or produce, which really is driven by increased sirtuin activity, and we're able to increase sirtuin activity the same way in which caloric restriction does it, without all the negative pieces associated with caloric restriction, with our new product.
And if we can manipulate NAD in the way that we want through nutrition, through our new product.
Unbelievable. So the new product, you can say the name.
You say it.
So Protandim NAD Synergizer, right? Fits right in with the rest of the line. It's Protandim NRF2 Synergizer, Protandim NRF1 Synergizer, and the Protandim NAD Synergizer, producing and providing all of the same health benefits. This one you actually have to share because I find this fascinating. In the studies around caloric restriction, when caloric restriction was monitored and controlled and done in a safe environment, they were able to increase sirtuin activity by
94%.
94%.
So that's doubling.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's really incredible. That's with caloric restriction.
That's with caloric restriction.
And with the new Protandim NAD Synergizer, we're able to increase sirtuin activity by?
In 24 hours, we have actually shown that we can double sirtuin activity.
So literally better sirtuin activity, at least within 24 hours, as far as our tests show, better increase in sirtuin activity than actual caloric restriction.
Yeah, and we can even step back. We see that effect happening as soon as 3 hours after addition of the new product. So we see about a 45 or 46% increase in sirtuin activity as soon as 3 hours after taking the product, and it doubles by 24 hours.
That is absolutely incredible. It's absolutely fascinating. Okay, we should wrap things up. We're going to come to an end here, but there's a couple of things that we have, other things that we need to talk about. One, our listeners, those that are part of the call right now, I'm certain, right, that they have heard of NAD at this point, right? They've heard that term, they've seen it online, they've seen it scrolling through their various feeds, they've seen the ads. There are other companies. It's new, right? It's new science. There's a better understanding of it now. There are other companies that are trying to address NAD because they recognize the benefits associated with it, with NAD itself, and with sirtuin and its link or connection to increased sirtuin activity. Maybe I'll just make it as simple as, why are we better?
Why are we better?
Yeah.
Well, we've looked at the competition, and we're taking a completely different approach to boosting NAD and these NAD-dependent mechanisms. Again, because nutrigenomics, pardon the pun, is literally in our DNA, right? We're taking a nutrigenomic approach to address these NAD and NAD-dependent mechanisms. So we're literally using nutrition, there's your input, to target NAD, to affect sirtuins, to elicit these physiological responses. And maybe some things we can talk about next, but why is our approach different than these other different approaches?
Yeah, well, that's what I'd love to know.
So the competition that's out there right now, they're taking what they call a precursor approach to nutrition, or to boosting NAD. And that, just by the basic biology, just knowing how enzymes work, is going to come with some inherent flaws. And so you might expect there to be some boosts in NAD by providing the substrate. And maybe we'll take a step back. But when we're talking about how making these different things in the cell work, they're all requiring enzymes. But enzymes can only work so fast, okay? And there's always something that's limiting how fast those enzymes can work. So you could think, maybe, trying to think of a good analogy off the top of my head, but you could just maybe take a garden hose with a big bucket on the end of it. You're only going to ever get so much water coming through this hose, no matter how much water you put into that bucket. You're only going to get so much coming out. And enzymes work that same way. And then eventually what happens is that water is going to drain out of that bucket, and once it's gone, there's going to be nothing left to come through that hose. So adding substrates works probably just on the short term. Mm-hmm. And so what we're looking at doing is that nutrigenomic approach to increasing the machinery and these other mechanisms around NAD to support it in a holistic manner.
Yeah. I guess it's a bit of a humble brag, right? We can talk about it. So in the studies that we've done where we've looked at caloric restriction, know that it increases sirtuin activity by 94%. Our product increasing sirtuin activity after 24 hours, in vitro study, increasing it by double or 100%. And the competition, using that precursor that has the choke point, at 24 hours, we're able to increase sirtuin activity by?
Well, maybe we don't have to give the hard number, but significantly more modestly.
Significantly more modest.
Why don't we say?
I think there's going to be a graph in the brochure that you guys received that will show you just how modest that increase is. So,
not to mention how long it takes to see an effect. But.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you guys, I am so excited for this product. We are addressing, within the Protandim family, utilizing a very robust but correct approach within nutrigenomics to address oxidative stress, mitochondrial health, and now sirtuin activity. I can't begin to think of another an organization, another company, or anyone else that is taking this type of approach to health and allowing an individual to really take control of their own health span and lifespan.
I really think it's going to start to change the conversation around healthcare, and this proactive approach to really kind of start to not just get at one Achilles heel of the cell, but multiple Achilles heels of the cell, and overall just affect our health in the best ways possible.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
It is so exciting, and I hope you guys can feel and see some of our excitement. I'm pretty sure you can. There's a few other people, a few other individuals that are part of this call that I know they want to share their excitement with it, with you, and what they've experienced by using the product. They're going to talk about how to use it within their business. These are the individuals that you know. Some of our FAB members, or your FAB members, some Pro-10s. They had the opportunity to use the product over the past 4 to 6 weeks and feel and experience what it is all about and why we're so excited about it. So they're going to share that with you here in just a few minutes. I just want you to know a lot of what we talked about. So we talked about a lot. Today, what you're going to see later on the website, we're actually going to publish to the website the product display pages, or the PDPs, on your referral site. So you'll be able to get onto the website and see all the information, just like the other product display pages that have basic information. They have the overview tab, they have the science tab. You'll be able to see the nutritional label. All of that information will be right there on the website, including the info sheet, which is in a PDF form, so you can print it or download it and print it and share it with others. The FAQ will be there, and we're also going to push out to you later a presentation that has a little bit in PowerPoint, right? That has a little bit more information, or some of the information that we shared just now with this call. So with that, know that that's coming. And I'm sure the next question that you probably have is pricing. How do I get it? When do I get it? Obviously, you guys get your samples today or tomorrow, within the next couple of days. Product will become available soon. We're actually going to release it for pickup at the store. And Kelly, we're going to kick the call back to Kelly. Kelly's going to walk through all of that information, when and how you can get the product. She's going to walk through pricing. So we've got some various bundles that we've put together that you'll be able to purchase it with some of our other products. And she'll let you know all of those details. So thank you from both of us for letting us be part of this call. This was I hope you can feel and some of our passion about this, about product in general, but more specifically about this one. We've got a lot of excitement and a lot of belief in this product, what it's going to do for you and for your organizations and for your customers. It's an exciting time to be part of LifeVantage. So thanks for letting us be part of the call. And Kelly, we're gonna kick it back to you. So y'all that know what you're doing with the machinery, get it over to Kelly.
Bye, everybody.
All right, Brian and Jesse, thank you so much. We cannot thank you enough for that great presentation on what we got ahead of us. I think I'm more excited for our distributors, though.
Yeah, I'm super excited for you guys. If you didn't get some excitement out of that, then we need to check your pulse, because there are so many good things lining up here.